You have a new record. This month you're going to release a new record.
Yes.
And it's called Paranormal. What can we expect?
Everybody is paranormal. I think everybody is twisted a little bit. And so everybody is other than normal. I try to think of who is normal, and then I realize I don't know any normal people. So everybody's paranormal. This album is 12 songs or 13 songs, and every single character is paranormal. So that's why I give it that title. It really doesn't have anything to do with the occult or anything spooky or anything like that. It just means other than normal, sort of a twisted version of everybody. And that's every song is about that, on the album. And, it was really great to work with Larry Mullins. We decided to make this album sound different. We needed a different drummer that was going to give it a different feel. And Larry was the guy that was going to do it. And he really did a great job. He was really good.
Was it kind of the old days with your old bandmates Dennis, Neil and Michael when you recorded the new record?
It was, the band broke up 35 years ago. But we never broke up with any bad blood. We never broke up angry at each other. We separated. We didn't divorce. We just separated. And so I called them up all the time, and I said, why don't we write some songs for this new album? But the difference is I don't want to just write you guys to write songs with me. I want you to play on the album as a unit. Dennis on bass, Neil on drums, Mike on guitar. I said, I want to recapture that sound from the 70s. And they nailed it. They just got it. It was really easy for them. So those two are two of my favorite songs on the whole album, are those two songs.
You also work with Bob Ezrin. He's like your teammate since the 70s. What's special about you as a team?
Bob is he's did with me what George Martin did with the Beatles. George Martin produced the Beatles, and he brought the best out of them. He found the very best part of the Beatles, and that's what he got. And that's what Bob Ezrin does with me. He gets the best out of me. And so we've been partners now for, 12 albums. Every time I do an album, I look for Bob Ezrin to work on it with me, because he understands the Alice character more than anybody. So when we're doing an album like this, it's just such a great creative process. Every day you get in to write, you walk out of the writing session going, yes, we got 3 great ideas tonight, and they all work. So I love that process of writing music. It's almost like the songs that you're writing did not exist until you had an idea about a song, you wrote it down, the guys played it, and all of a sudden there it is, and it's on the radio. Well, that didn't exist a week ago. That song didn't exist, and now it does. So you're bringing something into the world that didn't exist before. Really a pretty creative thing to do,
And you're proud of it, of course.
They're like children. People say, what's your favorite song? And I go, it's like picking your favorite child. You can't pick your favorite child.
Your new album is not out yet, but you're already talking about new stuff from the Hollywood Vampires. What are your plans for this band?
Well, Johnny is doing 5 movies this year, just so he can take next year off. Joe Perry is finishing up Aerosmith this year, so we can have next year. I'm finishing up our tour December, so I can have next year to work on the Vampires, write a new album, go out on tour with them for 2 months or so, and then I'll start on a new album for me, But a lot of touring in there. There's going to be a lot of. I still have 100 shows to go on this tour, and then on the Vampires tour there'll be at least 30 or 40 shows, So touring to me is normal. It's almost as normal as being home.
Do you allow yourself breaks when you're talking like that? You're always on tour, so do you allow yourself kind of breaks?
Yeah, I give myself like 6 months to after a long tour is over, then I give myself 6 months off where I don't have anything. I just don't do anything. It just so happens that this 6 months off coming up in December is going to include writing an album with the Vampires. but that's still off. It's still not touring. And being in the studio with those guys and writing is like fun. So, I don't look at it as work. I look at it as fun.
You're talking about the Hollywood vampires as well. Is it hard for Johnny Depp playing in a band when Joe Perry is the other guitarist?
Joe Perry takes guitar lessons from Johnny.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding. Johnny is a great guitar player. And Joe will sit there and listen, and he'll go, Johnny, what? He says, teach me that. And he'll play something, and Joe will go, wow, how do you play that? So that's how good Johnny is. Johnny can really play. If I didn't know he was an actor, and I heard him playing, I would go, who's that guy? That guy really is, he plays very unique to anybody else. Plays a little bit different than everybody. But I'm attracted to that difference. He's the nicest guy in the world. He's the sweetest guy. No ego at all. Would sit down and talk to you for an hour. If he didn't know you, just sit and talk to you for an hour. So he's really a very real person. And he doesn't ever take himself seriously at all. So if you ask him about a movie, he has never seen one of his own movies. He has never seen any of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Never once. And I said, well, you're pretty good.
Yeah, probably because he thinks, well, if I watch my own movies, then it's kind of arrogant or stuff like this.
Well, I think I don't know if he's afraid to see himself on film. How we all kind of we don't want to hear ourselves on tape. We don't want to see ourselves. I said, Johnny, you're a really good actor. And he says, yeah, but I wasn't born to be an actor. I was a guitar player. And I said, well, trust me, the camera loves you.
I've read that you always, when you were at your 20s, you also played guitar, but you quit because there was no need for it. Did you ever start it again?
I wish I would have continued playing. I really wish I would have continued playing. But I was always surrounded by such great players that I ended up playing more harmonica. I ended up staying with the harmonica, and now I play pretty well. Play harmonica pretty well. But playing guitar when you've got all these guys around you that are as good as they are, it's kind of silly. You feel like, I'll just put that down. I'll be the singer.
You're in the music biz for a pretty long time now. You've worked with Billy Gibbons on the recent record, on the new record. He's also a down-to-earth guy. Do you have a recipe for this?
I found that the very odd thing about when you're 15 or 16 and you're listening to the Beatles and you're listening to Rolling Stones and you go, wow, greatest thing I ever heard. We were that generation that first heard the Beatles and first heard the Rolling Stones. You never ever thought that you would ever be in the same room with them, let alone being in the studio recording with them or being on stage with them. You never thought, oh, that would never happen. Or that your record would be above theirs on the charts. Honestly, that you just figure that never could happen. And then it does happen. And I found that the bigger I got, the more humble I got. I didn't get egotistical. I got actually, because I looked at the charts and there's my album #1, and the Beatles are #3, and the Rolling Stones are #5, and I was embarrassed. I went, I hope they don't see this because they're such idols of yours and they're your teachers. And there's your album above theirs. And you kind of feel, oh my gosh, it's such an insult to them, And then when you get another #1 and another #1 and #2, 3, like that, then you start feeling like, okay, I'm part of the club, but I'm still not in the league of those guys. And other people would say you are, and they go, nah, they're still the best. Cool.
Stop.